And probably the live on Facebook will record as well. All right, I believe are recording. Yes, we are recording. Hello, everyone. Jill Whalen here with Julie Brown and a few other people. Today we are going to talk, I forget what it's called now.
Kindness, awareness, and choice. Or awareness, kindness, and choice.
Right. Especially in these uncertain times. Although we had sort of chosen that topic, and I can't for the life of me remember what prompted it.
It was the post I put. Yes, it was a post that I put on my my personal business page, or either that or one of my groups. And it was talking about, are we kind? And sometimes we are, and sometimes we're not. And sometimes we get caught up in life, and then we've got no control over the thoughts that pop into our head, but we can control them, or we can control our reactions and actions following that. So that was where the post came from. That was where the topic came from, because you commented and went that you liked what I'd said, and I went, next Zoom.
Yep. And we can, and then with everything that's going on in the world here, we thought we could also adapt it to that, because it is generic, sort of anyway. Are you guys all quarantined, or what's happening there in the UK?
We are being advised to not go into any groups larger than 10. We're being advised not to go to restaurants, cinemas, etc., etc. However, nowhere's actually been closed yet, and our children, or at least my daughter, is currently still going to school, but I'm expecting an announcement made on Friday saying the school's closing. Her guides is closed. I'm guessing the her dancing and that will be closed. So I'm guessing from Friday we will be homeschooling, if I want a better word. So yeah,
that's here we've actually, in my state, it's not every state here yet, but in my state we seem to be one of the first. They've closed all the restaurants now. They can be open for takeout or delivery, and all the bars and stuff close. They close schools, I think, in the whole state, and it's until at least right now April 7th, I think, which is a lot. Now, normally I wouldn't care too much, but we go out to eat like every night. And again, even that doesn't bother me, but my husband's the one that likes to get out, so he's kind of not too thrilled with it. I'm like, oh, I can cook, yay. But yeah, so it'll be interesting, because it's I found for myself what's making it be, I don't know, scary, I guess, is just like having to change your routine. We have a routine, and also my yoga and bar classes are all canceled. So it's like your brain gets fixed in a certain routine, and then somebody just tells you, no, you can't do it anymore, your habit. And it's like, what? You can't just do this to me. And so it's been interesting to watch that play out, kind of, for me in my head, and especially for so long. Like, if they said a few days, but that's at least, I think, 3 weeks or more. So yeah, we're gonna have some new routines too.
I think it would be better for a lot of local businesses in our area if actually our bars and restaurants were closed, because then they could claim off insurance and pay the people wages, as opposed to just saying don't go. So there's nobody there to pay money to go in to pay wages. So there's different ways of looking at it. Currently it would probably be better, because for all they're not being ordered to close, you don't really feel as though you've got any choice to go to them. So that choice has been removed for the greater good, supposedly. I'm not particularly bothered at the moment about whether I can go out or not. I'm not overly panicking at all, really. I'm not finding myself caught up in many thought storms around anything. I'm just thinking that the government are doing things that we don't know yet. They're doing better than they're learning from the other countries. So we're a little bit behind. So I think we're learning a little bit, but I think we've been a little bit slow on the uptake, but I think they're catching up they've been forced to catch up quite rapidly to the past 2 days. I think if this is going to be a huge opportunity for change, and I think that we can make that change for the good, is as a world, you know, as communities, as people, we're seeing a lot of the survival instinct play out. You know, the fighting in the supermarkets for the toilet rolls and things like that. And, you know, people's survival instincts are just going into meltdown because they're just seeing danger everywhere. And with so much on the news and everywhere you turn, everybody's got an opinion about it. Everybody's, you know, is it fake news? Is it real news? Is it just somebody's opinion? There was Facebook posts, there was bus stop queues talking about, you can't go anyway within under 5 minutes, the conversation turning around to this anywhere. There's no respite from that. So it's understandable that from a neurological level, you know, we're built to survive. So it's no wonder that our survival instincts are on high alert a lot of the time. And for some people, that's causing maybe some irrational actions, but maybe they're not irrational. Maybe I'm the irrational one for not joining in with them. Who knows? We can only do what feels right for us, can't we?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a great example of separate realities in a way. I mean, we're all experiencing this one thing, and it is cool, like that it is, you know, the fact that it's a worldwide thing that can bring us together as one, you know, because everybody is potentially could be involved or whatever. But it's, but it's also, you know, the different ways people are reacting to it is really interesting, and that, you know, all based on our beliefs that we have for various reasons. So, like, I mean, I haven't been too concerned, but, you know, I'm a healthy person who typically doesn't get too sick, and but on the other hand, I'm also superstitious. So I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to say too much like, oh, don't worry about it or whatever, because I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you don't want to worry about it, then I'll strike you with it. You know. Yeah, so I've been, you know, kind of quiet about it, not trying not to make jokes about it or anything like that, because it, you know, it is serious. And yet thankfully I think it helps to be able to live more in the moment. You know, because I occasionally find my mind going to some worst case scenarios, or, you know, you read something like I read some symptoms or something, and that was a mistake. And I did not want to, you know, I stopped halfway as I realized what I was reading, because, you know, I can get like that. You know, health stuff can be scary to hear and read about, and I've never liked to listen about medical things anyway. But it's so interesting, like, because you know, my brother's getting married in Hawaii. He lives in Hawaii. At the end of April, and, you know, we were planning to go there, and I would still like to go. And so I'm not going to buy a plane ticket yet, just because who knows. But I still am planning to go. I'm not like afraid to go, or that's for sure. But then my sister, who also lives in Hawaii, she was messaging me the other day. She's like, oh, you shouldn't come. And, you know, she was like end of the world stuff she was telling me. And I'm like, we don't know anything yet. I said, we'll see, you know, I mean, maybe the worst case will happen in certain places or to us, or I don't know, but it doesn't help or hurt, but, well, maybe hurt. It doesn't help to, you know, to go there, in my mind, at least. I just don't see a reason to do that. We just don't know. Be smart, yes, you know, don't be dumb, but be smart, but live your life too. You gotta live your life. Yeah. So, but people's actions and opinions are really, it's really interesting to see that.
And it's understandable. I mean, I've got, my father-in-law has got a lung condition, quite a severe lung condition. So, you know, if he catches it, it's not going to be good news for him. How bad it would be, I don't know. I haven't went down that road, but I know he could get really quite poorly, and he's already got an emergency pack that he has for when he has any respiratory problems. So it's not that I'm not aware of the risks. It's not that I'm trying to be flippant in any which way, shape, or form, because I'm taking sensible precautions. So if I go to their house, obviously I'm going to be washing my hands, and I'm automatically now a tap runs and I hear happy birthday in my head. That connection's been made and will probably be there for the rest of my life. However, one thing I keep finding myself saying to pretty much everybody I've spoken to is that we can't deal with something until it's actually upon us. So if we are told that we have to stay in and we can't go outside, then it makes no sense in my mind to plan or to worry about and stress about not being able to go out in 2 weeks' time, because I'll deal with it when the 2 weeks' time comes, if that makes sense, or if it's tomorrow. And we can't actually deal with the problem effectively, even if we can deal with it at all, until it's actually impacting directly on us. We can take sensible precautions at all times, and we should be taking sensible precautions. But realistically, this is a pretty unique situation. And I was saying to somebody today, and I'm not sure, who was it I was speaking to? It might have been Graham, but I'm not sure if it was Graham or not. But I was saying to somebody many, many years ago, when there was the plague, people stayed away from people's houses. There was a cross on the door and people stayed away. What's the decent part of social media now is the fact that people aren't staying away as per se. They are putting cards through doors, and if you need somebody to talk to, reach out to us. If you want some shopping, we can leave it on the doorstep for you. If you need a meal cooked, we'll cook you a meal. The sense of community and people coming together and people helping each other is actually huge. And that's something that hopefully will continue and be part of the change moving forward when we come out of this and we go back on the upturn. And it was Janet I was talking to this morning. That's who I said that to. It wasn't Graham. So now he doesn't have to wonder if we've had a conversation and he's forgotten about it.
Graham's like, it's not me.
Yeah, he was like, have we had that conversation? But yeah, that one, we need to know, if we catch ourselves, as you did when you were reading the medical symptoms, you caught yourself and stopped. When we catch ourselves going down that rabbit hole, whichever particular rabbit hole it is, if we can stop and actually look at the actual fact of where it is for us at that time. So the name of this webinar is Kindness, Awareness and Choice. So when we become aware, then we can make a choice. We can either continue down that rabbit hole and feel the feelings that come with that, or we can make a choice to wait until, deal with the problem when it comes. And that's not to say we don't take precautions and take sensible steps to prepare. But there's a difference between fighting the supermarkets for toilet rolls and getting some things in. There's a difference. There's the feeling that comes with the difference. And the kindness is that not only how can we help ourselves, but if instead of us buying 10 tins of baby milk, maybe see if there's a neighbour next door that's got a young child that maybe can't afford to buy as much in advance, and be kind and help them a little bit. There's so much we can do at this time. And as you say, Jill, the separate realities of how it's playing out for each and every one of us is amazing to see. So it's never the virus, even though the virus is real. It's never the virus.
Yeah. It is interesting about the kindness you know, as I said, my yoga studios canceled all the classes, and I was definitely annoyed because they had done a lot of things. They had cleaned it up really well, and they were doing everything, and then they lowered the student number so it would be safe. And then the next thing you know, they said, no, we're just going to close. And I was like, no. But you know, they're doing instead for free online Facebook Live classes, and so I'm, you know, doing those at home, and it's really just as good. You know, it's still my teachers, and you feel like you're there with them. I mean, we're so lucky with all the online stuff we can do, because it really does feel like you're there with them. You can feel the energy. One of my teachers has so much energy, and she was doing a Tabata class, which is kind of a fast-paced cardio kind of thing, and like it was the same energy that she always has, and it was so nice because it really felt like you were there. And then, you know, some of the we have our town has this emergency fund thing, and they're going to be buying meals with the money from some of the local restaurants that are doing takeout and stuff, and then, you know, delivering it to people who need them and things like that. So, you know, and I donated some money to that fund, and, you know, yeah, so it is cool that you know, that comes out, and that hopefully will carry over, you know, like we were originally, before all this really came to a head, and we were talking about how we, you know, you and I both are not always as kind as we should be, you know, or would like to be. Maybe it's not a should, but we would like to be. But, you know, every act of kindness we do, it feels like that sticks with you, you know, and it shows you how to be more kind, and it feels good to be kind, and help others.
And there's so much that people can do, and, you know, without actually having to, you know, if you don't have a lot of money. So this afternoon I've sat and you know how untechnical I am, Jill, you know how disastrously untechnical I am. And I've sat and created a PDF of just for Key Stage 1 children up, you know, for having to homeschool, to keep them entertained for hours, you know, just writing the numbers and doing some letters and doing some sums and some colouring in pages, and just put that out there for anybody that wants it. Didn't cost me anything. I spent a couple of hours creating it. Would probably take you 10 minutes. Took me all afternoon. But, you know, it's there. And then, you know, it's something that it's going to help some people who've got children off that, give them something to do. There is so many ways to help people. It doesn't have to be, you know, we can donate money if we've got money to donate, but there's so many people who are not in the position to do that. And yet there's always, you can offer to take somebody's dog for a walk if the dog can't get out. You know, even if you buy some cheap gloves and put some gloves on so you're not touching the dog's lead, and you take them off afterwards. And there's so many different ways and things that can be done to help. People who are isolated, phone them up, have a conversation. You know, someone's isolated for 3 or 4 weeks, and there is, you know, they don't have anybody else for company, or worse still, they do. And it's not somebody they really want for company for that long time. That wasn't being really kind, but you know what I mean. We, you know, actually just a fresh voice, you know, just so people know and feel that they're not alone. As you say, the energy in the room for you doing that yoga class was still there. You know, the energy we can do off these Facebook groups, you know, you can do Zoom calls with people. There's so much that we can do. And it could just be half an hour out of our day, but that half an hour out of our day could mean so much to somebody who doesn't have anybody to talk to, who doesn't have anybody that can just check in on them. So there's so much we can do, and, you know, to help others. And when we're helping others, we're automatically feeling good about ourselves, because we physically can't spiral down a rabbit hole and feel really caught up in a thought storm while we're actually practicing kindness. The two don't go together. We can't do that. We can dip in and out of it, but we can't, you know what I mean? When we're thinking about what we can do for others, we're not focusing about woe is life for us. And I'm not being flippant without that. I am aware of the risks. As I say, for those who've just joined, I've got a father-in-law who has a very real and difficult lung condition, potentially difficult lung condition if you caught this virus. So I am aware of the possible risks and what's happening with people. But I think currently, even those who don't get infected from the virus are still going to be impacted in some way via it, whether it's not being able to go out, whether it's lack of funds for paying the mortgage if you're a small business owner, whether it's losing somebody. That's going to happen, and unfortunately, as horrible as it is, it's going to happen. And there's nobody going to be immune to this, being touched by this in the world. None of us are going to be immune to this, so we're all in the unique position to come together in some way, even though we've got to be separate. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can come up with those ideas of ways to be kind and help when we're not, if we're caught up in just worrying about ourselves or our loved ones, or even the world in general. It's a lot harder to connect to that wisdom and come up with different things to do and help, and yet there's infinite possibilities of things you could do, that you could think of on your own. It doesn't have to be stuff that your own town is doing, or or other people are doing. There's so many unique, creative ways, and we'll probably see more and more of them unfold, like what you did, which will be cool. Because I feel there's as I said, we go out to eat a lot. We go to bars, and there's a local bar here that it's people, a lot of retired people go there. They hang out there during the day, not necessarily to even drink, but that's their whole social thing. And I wonder, I feel so bad for them, because along with all the workers who of course are losing their money. I mean, that goes without saying, but then there's, there's this whole community of people, and I'm not really sure yet, if or what there is to do for them. I don't know any of them personally. I just know that that's a thing. But there's so many little groups of people that are losing a lot of their everyday, way of living. And especially if you're older and things like that too. It's an interesting phenomenon.
It was on one of the programs on TV this morning, and there were some elderly people in a village, and they were moving in with each other. They were single, and there's a few of them moving in with each other to support and keep each other, and just keep each other company, and just actually for this time. And I thought that was a really unique, and hopefully it's going to last. There's nothing like living with somebody to find out what somebody's really like. But hope that's going to be, that's another temporary solution that people came up with their own free will. Then we've got parents. I know parents who have got children with medical issues, medical problems, and that's without the children who are going to get the virus. There's children who have got issues that parents are absolutely petrified. I know I've got a neighbour whose child's got cystic fibrosis. I've got a friend whose child's quite poorly in other ways, and it's just, there's so, with the best will in the world, no matter how much we would wish this away, it's here, and we can only do our best to help deal with that and help each other. I'm wondering if anybody's got any questions or any comments or anything they would like to add so far.
Yeah, feel free to either unmute yourselves or just raise.
And the same on Facebook. Anybody who's watching on Facebook, please feel free to type any questions in, and we would be happy to.
Yeah. I see a few highs there, but so I'm assuming people are seeing this.
Okay, I'm not showing me any. Oh, there they are. I've got the comments now. It wasn't hi Jill, yeah.
We'll see, yeah. But yeah, if anyone, how are things going for you? Anybody who's completely petrified or not knowing what to do with themselves, or just how are others handling things, or any questions?
It was quite interesting when you were talking about the separate reality, Jill, that I took a couple of clients through a thing called box breathing earlier on this week, because they said they were just so focused on what was happening. And Julie knows about the box breathing aspect. It basically, it hijacks the parasympathetic nervous system. So while they're focusing on the breathing aspect, they can't focus on anything else. You know, so the virus and all of the shenanigans from the media was still happening around us. But for those 5 minutes when we were just talking and breathing, not doing anything else, how quickly people's mental state shifts when we're actually focused on something completely different, and getting that relaxed state and those chemicals released within the system that allows you to completely drop out of that anxiety and chemical heightened state of having adrenaline running through the system.
So that's something people could look up, like online, how to do?
Yeah.
Very simple. Go on, Graham, go for it.
What's that?
Box breathing, give an example of it.
An example, so the box breathing, it focuses on having a pause in and out of your breathing. Most people, when they're breathing, they don't pause between the inhalation and the exhalation. So they go straight from breathing in to breathing out. What box breathing does, initially it starts to get a little bit of a pause in between the breath. So as you take a deep breath in, maybe for up to 4 seconds, you then pause before you start to breathe out. And the idea is, as you become more and more comfortable with that, having that pause between that inhalation and exhalation, you try and marry up the in-breath for 4 seconds, a pause for 4 seconds, the out-breath for 4 seconds, and then the final pause for 4. So it's a 16-second breath cycle. As I say, that you do start off doing that for maybe a minute, then 2 minutes, and then slowly build it up to a 5-minute duration, and doing that once to twice a day. It has a significant effect on not only the nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, but the chemicals that are released within our body. Now, it was really hijacked by the US Navy SEALs in order to get their SEALs to calm down before they actually went on a deep dive or a deep swim. And what this allowed them to do was allow them to swim further for longer because they were maximizing their breath. And when they realized that, they also seen that they were measuring what was happening within their nervous system. So yeah, it's a 16-second breath cycle. Initially, people find that quite difficult to do. So we tend to teach it in just pause before you breathe out and pause before you breathe in, and then slowly build that up so it's a 4-second interval between each section.
And children can do this as well, but when children do it, what I tend to say to them is, I ask them their favourite cupcake smell or their favourite cookie smell, and I just go big breath in through the nose, imagine you're smelling the cookie, and then just hold it because you want to smell it for longer, and then just like blow the candles out on the cake. So it's like in through the nose and out through the mouth, but it's relatable to children. And I don't do the breath on the hold the breath on the way out. Yes, Julie, you're right. It's the very same thing as the square breathing. It's 4 forward, forwards under. It's called box breathing. It's called square breathing. There are many, many different names for it around. And Julie says, I'm struggling a bit at times. It does feel as though things build up and it's harder to access a peace of mind. Joe, would you like to speak to that? Thank you, Brian.
I wonder, Julie, I don't know if you can you speak at all? Just to
Yep.
give,
I can
oh,
speak.
great.
I can speak. I can show you myself, but that's not very pretty. But
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. I had been quite kind of okay, and then I started having a lot of thinking about the lack of intensive care beds over here and what's happening in Italy, and how they're having to choose who lives and dies basically. So that's been playing a little bit on my mind, and yeah, and also just because I've kind of become a mental health first aider at work. I work at a hospital, and I feel that I've got to be, I've kind of got to be whiter than white and be a good role model. So I'm putting a bit of pressure on myself for that, and I'm trying to bring a bit of this understanding to the staff. And I've been, for the past few weeks, I've been doing a weekly sort of email to everybody, sort of mental health awareness, which hasn't been entirely 3P, but I'm just kind of slipping more and more in under the radar as it goes along. Yeah, as I say, I'm not doing quite as well myself today as I think I should be, and I know that's the problem. Thinking I should be doing differently, and it feels like things that, a few other things also sort of building up, and my parents having to self-isolate, and I can't go and see them and stuff like that, and feeling a bit helpless. And it does feel true that as things kind of build, I'm at a point of like possibly tipping over, and trying not to, having to control it rather than just being aware that that's what's happening. And maybe it doesn't matter if I do have a bit of a cry or a meltdown, then maybe it just doesn't really matter. I'll come back to peace eventually, I guess.
Well, I think it's good that you are aware. You're aware that things are escalating for you. You're aware of that, that you're out of sorts, and you also happen to know that that's because of thoughts. But it doesn't really matter what the reason is. I think this is where, like what Graham was saying, this is a good time to make sure we are all doing some sort of self-care, whether it's breathing or yoga or whatever we like to do that can help settle us. When we are aware that we've spiraled out of control, our thoughts have taken over. There's not usually much you can do. More thoughts don't usually help it, or beating ourselves up for it. But there's but taking a walk, doing yoga, doing a breathing, whatever, a bath, anything that we can do. I think it's really important in these kinds of times, to be aware of that and make sure that we are, because it's like the say on the airplanes, take your own oxygen mask first. We can't help others if we're depleted ourselves, and we need our oxygen. And for me, sometimes it takes me getting to the end of my rope before I finally give up and surrender and say, all right. But I do feel better then.
In general, I was also aware that, because yesterday I went into several shops that were all experiencing a certain amount of panic buying, and if that had been a year or two ago, I probably couldn't have stayed. I couldn't have stayed there and queued up and everything. I would have had to have run out the store. So I guess I have to sort of acknowledge that there's that sort of improvement.
Talk to a few of the things that you said, Julie. First thing, when you said that, so you've got to be whiter than white. Can we just mute Janice, please? if that's possible, thank you.
I do.
Feeling whiter than white because you're the one that people are going to, you're the first aider. For me, people actually connect more with people who are just human and who are just not whiter than white, because it feels good when we're all just in the same boat, right? When we all just go, do you know what, I really caught myself in a total thought storm the other day, and you wouldn't believe the fool I made of myself, or I got myself upset, or just being real with people, because you know what, this is everybody, the feelings people are having are real, the feelings that you're having are real, and the worries are real, right? They are there, that are genuine concerns. You can't go and say your family at the moment. Yes, you can do other things, you can contact them in other ways, but you can't, there's nothing beats going and saying them. Yes, there is panic everywhere you look at the moment. So obviously, as you mentioned, it's good to know what goes on in the brain neurology to understand what makes anxiety produce. So the little part behind the brain called the amygdala, which is basically, I work a lot with children, so I describe it to children as, have you ever seen a meerkat? You know, meerkats are those little animals that like little centuries, and there's always one meerkat sitting on the top of the hill watching out for danger to alert the others. I talk about that part of the brain a little bit like a meerkat, always on alert, watching to try and help us survive. When it catches something, it tells our body, you know, it releases the chemicals into our body that put us into fight or flight mode, that help us get out of danger. Now, as you already know all this because you're already first trained, doing the breathing releases the chemicals that counterbalance the adrenaline and the cortisol that have been released. And the difference between the little amygdala or the meerkat is it can't tell the difference between a group of lions running towards us on the television and a group of lions running towards us. So it just sees the lions, and it shouts to the body, we're in danger here, let's help ourselves. So you know, that's a really simple way that I use this to explain it to children. And instead of, you know, what another thing I say to people is, when we don't feel as though we can control something, and we're in a huge situation at the moment that we've got no control over, that, you know, we're literally being told we can't even go outside. So we are literally, you know, everything that we normally think we can do, we are being told we can't. So we, as a species, I don't think most of us do very well at being told what to do and not being able to do something. So asking ourselves a question, okay, so what can we do? So in the case of your parents, you might not be able to go and see them, but what can you do? If there's panicking in the shops, what can you do? You can stay or you can go. You do have some choices. And this is again the point of the name of the webinar is we do have choice. But even if it's just like, what little bit can we actually do? And yes, Italy is very real. The situation in Italy, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I thank goodness that I don't have to make those decisions that the doctors are having to make at the moment. And we can't do anything to change that. That's completely out of our remit. And us spending our energies worrying about that happening to us when it hasn't happened is actually getting our immune systems down lower, because it's keeping the fight or flight response going for longer, because we're on high alert all the time, and we don't do well when we're on high alert all the time. The stress response isn't designed to be running 24 hours a day, as you know, you don't need me to tell you. So that lowers our immune system. So again, get the oxygen mask on, and when we catch ourselves going down that rabbit hole, what choice are we going to make? Are we going to continue going down it? Make it as a choice. Continue, go and feel those feelings. Or we can come back out and we can have a bath. We can put some music on, have a dance around the sitting room. We can do the breathing. We can pick up the phone and phone our parents. If that, we've got a choice. And even if the choices are very, very small, looking at what we can do quite often really helps us regain some sort of, not control, because we don't ever have control, but some sort of calmness, because it stops us spiraling, because there is something that we can do, even if it's only little.
Do you have any thoughts as to how, you know, you might approach if you were having to support frontline NHS staff?
I've got friends who are on the front line and are doing, and I'm not going to go on and make that any worse about the things that they're doing. I know that we can only support them in any which way that we can, and if that support means me making them some food so they don't have to cook, I will do that. If that support means me phoning them up and telling them that I love them and I'm absolutely amazed by what they're doing, then I will do that. I can't do their job for them because that's not my job. All I can do is support and never underestimate how far actually being recognised for what they're doing goes and appreciated. You know, telling them that I know you're absolutely in situations that you would never choose to be in your life, making choices that you never have to make in your life. I appreciate you can't do right for, you know, it feels like it's an impossible situation and you're doing your best, and thank goodness you are. That's pretty much that's what I would think about that. Jill, I don't know if you've got anything to add with that.
Not really. I don't think we really know what we could say to somebody till we're in the situation, you know, so I don't, as far as I know, I don't know anyone specifically in that situation. So I don't know. I think I find in any situation what comes in the moment for me to say or do is usually better than whatever my personal thinking can come up with, because it's never usually the best thing coming that way for me.
I used to work in cardiothoracic theatres in my local hospital, so I know a lot of nurses, and I've got friends who are paramedics who are, you know, dealing with us. So that was my response to my friends.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, and we may not have been live or online then when I said that, you know, medical stuff in general is not my, like, I'm squeamish. I don't like to think about it. I don't like to talk about it. So in some ways I put my head in the sand on these things too. And that works for me.
Yeah, that's all. What we can do is what works for us, right? That's all any of us can do.
Yeah, because it can, again, if I let my thoughts go there, they sometimes will go to worst case scenarios, and you know, there's
just catching yourself.
There's just no reason to you know. Luckily, I come to my senses. I notice when I'm doing, and again, that's part of awareness. You know, being aware that my mind is going there, and then I could just be like, well, that's dumb. Why? Go do something else or think about something else, and you know, that usually is fine, works for me.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie.
Does
anybody else have anything that they would like to mention? Graham's would also give yourself permission to feel how you feel, then be hard on yourself and expect to not. I think I pretty much said that. If you want to have a cry, then have a cry. It's absolutely fantastic for the body because it releases all of the pent-up emotions and stresses. Tell people when you're struggling, and
it comes down to, as with all of this stuff, you know, what's happening is what's happening, and it's the fighting of what's happening that is what creates our struggles and our suffering. So we don't have to like what's happening, but we can be okay in the moment with what's happening as much as we can, and then even if it's bad, it's a different quality to it. It's not mental suffering.
We're not enhancing the suffering by fighting against it.
Right. We make it worse.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask or say? Oh, somebody on the Facebook, Lisa Owens said, I'm frontline NHS staff. I work in theaters and will be moved to ITU soon. Sounds like you are doing a great job sending out the meals. It's just nice to know we are supported. Oh, that's nice.
So Julie, there you go. you know, that is. I'm going to turn my phone down so I can check the replies. So, you know, Lisa's put on frontline staff. I'll be moving, sounds like you're doing a great job, sending out the emails, and it's nice. Just knowing people are supported, knowing people are appreciated goes a long way. You know, we can't physically do a great deal to help people out on the front line. Yes, Julie, please do. Julie Carly Whalen, well, that wasn't.
Yeah, I think if she's on Facebook, she can't actually.
Okay, you can type
interact.
in, or you can join us on the
Yeah.
Zoom. Feel free to type in.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. And anybody else who's here on Zoom? We've lost a few people. Guess we bored them.
Never mind. Maybe they just, you know what, the Zoom numbers have gone down and the Facebook numbers have gone up.
Aha. Yeah.
There we go.
10 watching live on Facebook. Oh, I can Chromecast on here too. One of the things that I did to help with my husband, because I told you he likes to go out. So I just went out today and bought the Chromecast, which means I can put Netflix and stuff on our TV, because we usually have it. I just watch myself on my iPad and he does whatever he does when we are home late after being out. But I thought, well, why don't we can watch stuff together this way, you know? And but I'm just noticing that I thought I couldn't Chromecast from the computers. It looks like I can. I see the little icon, but I can do it from my phone, which is kind of cool too. Just it's neat because we're probably like behind the times. Everybody else probably watches Netflix on their TVs, but we don't generally watch TV much.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we'll start a new routine, because that's what we used to. Before, we used to go out every night. We would, you know, when the kids were young, we'd watch TV and stuff, have a glass of wine at home, and it's just not our habit anymore.
That's it. Just because it's not doesn't mean it can't be again, though. You know, we change them all the time without realizing.
Yep.
You know, initially, like you say, it's like, oh, why can't I go out? I want to go out, and we feel, you know, not happy because someone's telling us we can't do that. But we come from a long line of survivors, let's face it, and we rapidly adapt, and our new norms absolutely can come very, very quickly. And, you know, before we know it, we're just going to be just in the zone of doing what everybody else is doing and sitting in the house and talking on computers, and for a limited time, it's the best thing that we can do if we're going to help save.
And it will be cool to see what new routines you develop. Like maybe after this, you know, my husband's a real extrovert, and that's why he likes to get out and just be with other people and stuff. But, you know, maybe after this, we won't have to go out every night. We can stay in Sunday. But we'll see.
This like my local doctors is not seeing people at all. They're not taking, nobody goes to the doctor surgery. All of the appointments are telephone appointments now. And, you know, maybe that's something that they're going to get to loads more people. You know, if you think about it, then there's going to be some people who probably have to go in for something, but, you know, they're going to get to a heck of a lot more on the phone than what they probably would do.
They should. And why they weren't already doing that, I don't know. That, you know, that there's so many things, even with schools, like they should be already offering some sort of online stuff, and hopefully maybe this will, you know,
it's going to prompt a lot of change.
Yeah, so, you know, that is one thing that does come out of the bad usually, is things like that change. You know, even like when wars happened, wasn't, you know, that's when technological changes happened. It's like, you know, huge amounts of change because it was necessary. Or remember when like women started doing all the jobs when the men had to all go away to work, I mean to the army or whatever, then women were doing, you know, you have that Rosie the Riveter poster. I can do it.
Always.
Graham said, it's always interesting people saying and thinking I should know or do or be able. And he said his doctor does Skype appointments. Yes, Skype, shoulds are one of the many ways we all make ourselves suffer. shoulding all over ourselves. But we all do it. It's and that's another habit as well.
So I've had a few clients today, and I've been sitting up here and I've been looking out the window, and I've got a big tree directly outside across the road from my window, and it's currently, there's no leaves on the tree, and it's still winter time, obviously, but it's just starting to get little buds appearing on it. And this virus is horrendous as it is. After this virus has passed, just like that tree is going to get leaves on it, we're all going to come back and we're all going to flourish again. And that's going to happen. All of us is not necessarily the right word to use, because that's not going to be the case. But humanity is going to flourish again. The ozone layers and the clouds over Japan have ceased now. There is so much going on that's actually making a difference to the world. On a pollution scale at the moment, that's changing. There are going to be so many people get creative when they have to. People get inventive when they have, and it's not that they're not already creative and not already inventive. But Graham and I have worked in schools with what children who've been classed as disengaged, and trust me, when children want to do something, they will find the most creative ways to get their own way. And we are no different as adults. When we all get stuck in, yes, the canals in Venice are clear now, and look at the singing that's being brought out, and they coming together as a community, all singing, and the music that's coming from Italy as well. There is so much good as well as the bad. It's life. We never get only ever one. There's two sides to every single coin. And like you say, the canals in Venice, the canals in Venice are clear now. There's just so much change that potentially is going to come from this.
And that's in nature, like you said, like when there's forest fires, everything can be burned down, and it's like a matter of days or weeks when new plant life starts growing from the ashes. It's amazing how nature has a way of continuing and surviving in new ways amidst the wreckage.
You can find the biggest cliff tops where there is just rocks, and you'll find a tree growing from it. Just where the heck that tree come from, who knows? But there's always a tree there. There's always a bush there. There's always some sort of life there, because life thrives. We thrive. We won't be. There's always a way somehow. So Julie has put, the principles must be helping me as my anxiety is okay. I try to keep myself in what's happening now. 1 year ago, I would have been freaking out. Thanks, Jill. So that's really cool to see, and really see that in yourself, Julie, because quite often we don't see how far we've come until we do look back, until something does happen and we realize that we're not acting or reacting in the way that we normally would or previously would. Yeah. So that's really cool to see. Thank you for sharing.
It's interesting because I wonder how I would have acted or how I would have felt some years ago before I became more aware too. I remember when 911 hit, and I remember being so scared of the unknown and just really, really scared. And I wonder if it would have been the same or not, or if it's just a different situation, or if I mean, who knows if this gets a lot worse where I am, yeah. Who knows? Again, we don't know, but that's why just being able to take it moment by moment, and you can't in this moment everything is okay, it's always in this moment.
It's all we've got.
It's all we've got, and and everything is okay.
And we don't know how we're going to act in the next one or the next 20. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which is why we've got to keep ourselves in the moment as much as possible, and just ask, if we feel like we can't do anything, instead of looking at the big things of all the things that we can't do, let's look at, what little bit can we do.
Yeah, and reach out to anyone too. And Julie and I both, and I'm sure Graham and others, if anyone just needs someone to talk to, or gets completely out of their mind, reach out and have a chat. I've been offering that in my group to chat with people, and I've had a few conversations already, and so and that goes for all the time, and that's not just now, but especially now, where you might feel the need more than other times.
Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Yes, thank you all, and thank you, Julie. We'll most likely be back in a month or so with some other crazy topic that we come.
A month's conversation.
Yeah. Or maybe more. Maybe we could do more if we're all stuck at home. I mean, I'm home all the time anyway, so for me, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, maybe, you know what, it might be an idea to do some more frequently roundabout if things are going at the moment. Maybe that would be an idea. If it's something that people would like, we could pop a poll up and see if it's something that people would find useful, and maybe we could do something like that.
We could do it in a couple of weeks or something, because it's long when my yoga classes aren't around too. I have more free time during the day, so. All right, everyone. Thank you. And Janice said, thanks. Sorry not to share. No privacy. No problem, Janice.
But feel free to message us if you would like to. Yep,
as always. All right, I'm going to end this now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.